Have you ever trained really hard for a race but couldn't stop thinking that you would fail? Like you think about the cramps that you might get halfway, or you imagine your hydration plan falling apart, or you're unable to hit the splits and ultimately your body just shuts down. Or maybe you're on the opposite side where you constantly daydream about race day glory, crossing the finish line in triumph with a new personal record on the clock. These aren't just random thoughts. This is your mind trying to make sense of the unknown. Because running and life constantly throw things at us that are unpredictable. And when we face that uncertainty, we usually default to one of two modes, either fear or confidence. And here's the twist, both of those things require faith. When I say faith today, I'm not necessarily talking about the religious connotation of faith. I'm talking more about the psychological definition, which is a firm belief in something despite definitive proof. When we valorize confidence or we pathologize fear or vice versa, we're not measuring truth. We are choosing which faith will animate our lives. The question cannot be which belief about the future is correct, because the future is not real. And so maybe the question should be, does putting my faith in an imaginary outcome, in an imaginary future, even make sense at all? Because here's the thing, like I said, the future isn't real. It's a narrative simulation that we've constructed from our experiences and our biases. The pessimist believes that the pain will continue. The optimist believes that it won't. The anxious believe that their worries will help them prepare for catastrophe or even prevent it. And the confident believes that their confidence sets them up for success. In all of these cases, these are fictional stories made up about tomorrow, accepted without proof, rehearsed in our mind, and embodied in our actions. And often, this entire process is completely unconscious. So let's wake up to it. Soren Kierkegaard was a philosopher in the mid-1800s, and he called anxiety the dizziness of freedom. And I thought that was incredibly fascinating because the future is essentially unlimited freedom. And that can be overwhelming to us. And so what we do is we make up stories. And then even if the story is bad, it has a bad outcome, that story, faith in that story, gives us peace of mind. And for the Stoics, in regards to faith in the future, they don't necessarily put faith in future outcomes, but they do have a practice in regards to the future. It's called, and this is in Latin, premeditatio malorum, which is essentially imagining everything that could possibly go wrong. Not to wallow in it, but to prepare the mind to meet misfortune without surprise. The anxious mind obsesses and the Stoic mind trains. Yet you could say that the Stoics kind of smuggle faith in the future kind of through a back door, because while they don't put faith in future outcomes, they do believe deeply that we can handle whatever comes. And that in and of itself is a kind of faith. Buddhism, on the other hand, they don't really put faith in the future. What they have is a trust in Dharma, which is trust in the way things are. True courage in Buddhism is surrendering entirely to the present moment. It's not trusting that I will be okay. It's trusting that whatever comes, it is what it is. In Taoism, it walks a parallel path, as usual, with their concept of Wu Wei, which is unattached action. In Taoism, it's just trusting that the flow of the Tao will take you where it takes you. Whether that is over a waterfall or to the calm, you trust the river. Not confidence, not fear, just flow. Christian faith in the future is not that far removed from Buddhism or Taoism, in my opinion. If we read Psalms and Lamentations, the picture that's painted with both of those books, in my opinion, is one that counsels us to face our anxieties about the future honestly, but yet we should respond with an increased confidence in the constant presence of God in our lives. Jesus taught that we should not fear tomorrow. This teaching came from the Sermon on the Mount, and to me, that teaching isn't about escaping the thought of the future. It's not escapism. It's understanding that we were built for the worries of today. We were not built to carry the worries of tomorrow. To me, as a non-biblical scholar, non-Christian scholar, one of the central messages or themes in the Sermon on the Mount is this radical trust, not in your own ability to plan or control the future, but in God's will. And you could even read this section as a direct rebuke of our human tendency to try and manage the future with anxiety. And so taking a step back and looking at all of these traditions and their thoughts about faith in the future, there's really kind of one theme that stands out to me, and it's that all of them say that we cannot know or predict the future. Yet, we should have confidence that we will be able to handle whatever comes. At the end of the day, we are narrative creatures. As humans, we like to tell ourselves stories about the future, about the past and the present moment. But we need to remember that we are the playwright, the director, the actor or actress, and the audience all at the same time. The runner that visualizes the heroic finish is writing their heroic story. The dad that visualizes infant mortality isn't being irrational, they're rehearsing life's chaos. And so we need to make this unconscious process conscious. And part of that is understanding that each of these scripts is written with a biased pen, with our own pen, with our own biases. And so every script is embedded with morals like hope is naive, worry keeps us safe. If I expect the worst, then I won't be disappointed. These aren't just neutral observations, these are choices about how to live. So picture this on a spectrum. On one side, we have paralysis, fear so bad that you cannot even act. And on the other side, you have courage that is so delusional that it denies reality. Now, somewhere in the middle, you have what I like to call engaged uncertainty or curiosity. And I think that's where fear and courage both exist. This is where I think the human spirit breathes. Real living often requires being scared and showing up anyway, worrying and still acting, preparing for risk while remaining open to joy. It seems like it's in paradoxes like this that we find wholeness. Ultimately, faith is trust. Perhaps the wisdom in this faith lies not in choosing between the optimistic scripts and the pessimistic scripts, but in trusting something deeper, that life is both terrifying and beautiful, that we can hold both fear and courage in that idea, and that uncertainty about the future isn't a problem to solve, but a condition to embrace with faith that we can handle whatever comes our way. I don't know. As always, I'm not an expert in this. This is me just thinking out loud because I find it interesting. So if this was interesting to you, or if it was thought-provoking in any way, I hope you'll stick around, and I'll catch you in the next video. All right, gear for today. I've got the Nike Zagama 2s. I have Stance running socks. These shorts are from 10,000. This shirt is from Built, and I've got the Apple Watch Ultra and Ogden Made running hat. If you have any questions on the gear, let me know.